guys. Welcome to the new episode of PAS Expertise with me, your host Deepthi Chanjeri, Head of People and Culture at PASCare, India's leading employee benefit platform. Today, we will be having a very interesting discussion on various strategies and best practices to help HR professionals navigate employee expectations during performance reviews. Um, from setting clear objectives to providing constructive feedback, especially in this day and age where the attrition on an average is somewhere 13 to 15%. India's top three IT companies saw 64,000 employees exit in FY 23-24. Okay. Uh, why is this change significant? How can you lower your odds this appraisal season? And to discuss more on all these things, we have our guest, Farhan Hazarika, as the head of talent and people at Teachment, a leading online teaching platform. Farhan leads the talent, people, and admin function for India and Philippines, overseeing a team of 25 professionals with over 15 years of experience in talent acquisition, HR policies, and performance management across various industries. He is on a mission to attract, develop, and retain talent and create culture of excellence, diversity, and innovation. Farhan has successfully hired over 200 candidates for product and non tech business roles in the past year, achieving an average of time to hire of 15 days and retention rate of 90%. Wow. Welcome, Farhan. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Deepti. This was really overwhelming. Thanks for this introduction. Not used to such introduction. Once again, thanks for hosting me, and I could see good participation now. Hi everyone. Probably you can leave messages on chat. I believe and assume that you guys have been able to hear us. If someone can just ping, if yes, then probably give us some comfort. Yes. Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, Deepti, let's go ahead.
Yeah. So, understanding employee expectations in annual performance reviews, you know, um, what are the kind of myths the performance reviews are all about? Do you say salary hikes, or what should be the approach? Should it be one size fits all criteria for all the roles? What do you think of it?
Sure, sure. Uh, One of my favorite topic, right? I've been there in the industry near about 16 years, and probably 16 appraisals have been witnessed by me, right? So, there is, and I think I would suggest this to all my fellow colleagues here, right? We always try to kind of defend our team members or the organization, saying that, hey, you know what, annual appraisal and hike should be different, right? So we should stop doing it, first of all, right? Let's be factual. Anyone and everyone who's been saying that, hey, you know what, annual appraisal means increment, let it be true to themselves, because they would want to live with this. So it is not appropriate to keep poking them and saying that, hey, you know what, annual appraisal is different and your hike is different. So let it be together, it's fine, right? Now, here is what we do wrong, right? Or here is what we could do better, right? Appraisal system is an outcome of someone's progress, or the gaps over a period of time, right? And most of the time, expectation setting or expectation is not appropriate, because most of the time we end up talking in the month of March or in December, when the appraisal is just a few weeks back, right? So, and that's where there's always a shock, disappointment, betrayal. You could say anything; it will go to everywhere, right? And that's where expectation setting did fail religiously. Now, how do we control this expectation setting, right? I think most of our colleagues tend to, especially the HR business partnering team, tend to counsel, tend to talk to them throughout the year. This doesn't help. What really helps is transparency and give them the realistic view, right? It starts right from your OKR setting. All of your appraisals or all of these that go through your annual review, everything goes to whatever you have done, right? So first, the first checkpoint is get all the HODs alignment. You need to ensure that, hey, we are going to start the new year, these many people are there in your team. We need to ensure that we set OKRs which are smart. That means smart OKRs. I'm talking about smart goal setting.
Yeah,
Ensure that these goals are aligned with business, right? It should not be a one department has very different goals which is not aligned with business. It has to be aligned with business, right? Second is, how do you kind of communicate this to your team and distribute these OKRs, which is equally distributed to your team, which
sure.
has again smart goals, right? Achievables, measurables, right? And ensure that there has to be a periodic review.
True.
Now this is all good theoretically. Now where it fails because the control and the entire mechanism is given to most of the time the HODs or the business, or uh, most of the time it's basically the other departments who tend to control. This is where a game changer needs to be. The HR department or the HR business partnering function here needs to be very dominant. It should say that this is my process. This is where we take care of the most critical assets of the company, which are human beings, right? The human capital. So we'll ensure this process and everyone falls through this process without any gap, right?
Farhan, I would like to just take 1 second. It's
Sure.
you put it very beautifully that it should be the business partners who take it head on with the business team, saying that I remember when we were having a conversation, you said these people need to be more dominant,
Yes.
autocratic, and
Yep.
say, hey, this is our company goals. Let's
Yep.
align every department to these goals
Yep.
and let it kind of percolate to each team from there. Yeah, that's
Correct.
a very beautiful thing.
Correct. And I think Dipti, where the see, it is good to do things amicably, but having said that, we are experts in our domains. We need to, so the organization needs to trust us, right? Right. So I can't go and tell a sales guy how to sell, right?
Right.
I would expect the same thing. Don't expect your sales head to teach how to do business partnering or HR metrics, right? We are experts in our domain. So gone are those days where we explain them, get them to understand, accept our processes. It's rather we say that, hey, this is how it works, right? And the results should talk, and results will definitely be there.
And I think somewhere, your CEO and your the founding office needs to be aligned with you when you're doing this and say, hey, you know what, we are with you, go ahead. you
Yep.
know
Yep.
uh, I have seen examples where we have very clearly defined numerically, not only the what do you say, qualitative, but quantitatively, even the functions where it's little difficult because there'll be some what do you say, non-tangible goals that you will be achieving,
Hmm.
typically your admin or your HR. So we would also define it to the extent that minimum this should be your level where, for example, एक satisfaction survey में I want your team to come here and stand at least if you don't go beyond. So
Yeah.
I
So
think the science has evolved so well now that, yeah.
I think Dipti, see, most of the time where it fails, if it is not measurable, right? I think every department now have gone to an extent where all the goals can be actually measurable, right? If a goal is not been able to measure, it is inappropriate to have that goal. It can be a responsibility of a HR department. Example, I would say. it is responsibility, or it is a basic characteristics of a HR department or the HR business partner to be approachable, right? It, you can't measure this, but this is your basic requirement. That cannot be a goal, but it can be a goal where a HR business partnering or the HR department says that, you know what, my NPS score for this department or this organization or my organization needs to be this, right? Which could be like 50 above or 60 above. That can be a measurable. In order to achieve this, these are the five things that I need to, that also can be measurable. So I would always say, if it is not measurable, it should not be there in the books at all.
Perfect. Yeah. So, guys, like what Farhan has been saying, you can measure it. There could be a number that you can push back business and say that, you know what, this is how it needs to be. So, that is something that we all should understand. I think that way OKR very clearly defines things, how you need to do it.
I think the simple term of OKR is your key results. If key results are not measurable, then it's a broken OKR. You cannot have an OKR without having key results, right? And key results, if not measured, is broken.
Absolutely. So now coming to Farhan about expectation setting.
Hmm.
How do you communicate? I mean, if you can, probably
See,
help our audience.
yeah, yeah. I think most of the time, and probably I've realized, because in my 1.5 decade, I've also had managers who said, "Hey, these are very sensitive communication with respect to hike. Do you have some clue? You should just give a very, I would say, diplomatic answers." And trust me, guys, we have become joke in most of the organizations because we give diplomatic answers. Please step away from it. It is fine to go and tell what is honest, correct, right? Of course there's a certain sensitive information, but be brutally honest. It is fine, you will earn respect, right? There were days where I took the town hall and I said, hey, you know what, uh, we could really do great appraisals, but probably we couldn't achieve what we were supposed to achieve. In next 3 months we are looking at accelerating our sales, we are looking at growing in our revenues, which will also decide how much of hike each of us deserve, right? And looking at the scenario, it might be difficult for us to go abnormally high. Some of the organizations in my past name, I have actually declared that, you know what, in this rating you will get this, in this rating you will get this, in this rating you will get this, which is declared in the organization, right? And we have completely have got stuck to that, you know what, this is how it's going to look. Initially we were thinking that, hey, people may not take it very healthy way, but they respected the transparency, they respected the honesty, and they respected why have we gone to these percentages, right? I think that's the best way of setting an expectation. Please do not do any diplomatic language with any of your employee. It is
I
okay
think
to
gone
say,
are the days.
yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
gone are
It
the
is
days where you
okay.
say very diplomatically sweet, sugar coated.
Huh,
No, this is what the business is. We have only been able to achieve this. So
yep.
let's, kind of have a positive outlook and try to do better. Absolutely.
Got it. And also, in case you are not aware, and if even if we are not aware of certain things, it is okay to go ahead and say, "Hey, this could be a request. I am sorry, I have limited information on this. I shall get back to you. At the moment, I do not have an answer." It is okay to say that where you don't have an answer. Stand by it and say you don't know.
And but get back to them, and wherever it is, figure it out. And I think this happened to me while I was taking an interview. um, some numbers were asked and I really didn't have an idea of that particular quarter. I went back and told the person, hey, this is what it is. And that person respected it, that after the interview she took the pains to go get the information, come back and say that with the same professionalism. Guys, I think as an HR, what I honestly feel is it's okay if we don't know, because this is the only function which will be having a 360-degree up and down, horizontal, vertical, all the views. Yeah, there could be times we are also human. We might not know something. It's absolutely to okay and say, hi, I don't know this. But definitely I'll get to know and come back to you. I think we have access to things, so we can always, communicate if we don't. That's a very nice thing to, kind of advocate for, and saying that, yeah, I don't know this, but
Yep,
I will
yep, good,
definitely try and make it.
of course.
Awesome. Just to give audience, there's a beautiful book on measure that matters. If you want to introduce OKRs, please, read this book. Uh, that is giving you a beautiful overview of OKRs and how do you set. What are the examples of OKRs that you can take it and probably go ahead.
Sure. I'll also pick up some questions which I can see, and I think there's a very interesting question. What's the best way to communicate the bad news of no low increment to a high performer? Okay. There is no best way of communicate. Be just genuine. I said, hey, out of five, you might be a four rating. Unfortunately, we have not been able to give you hike. Give the honest reasons. These honest reasons can also be that brutal that hey, you're already at a very high CTC. Our band can accommodate only till this. Unfortunately, this is the bitter truth. I'm sorry, this is how it is. There's no best way of communicating a bad news. Just go and say this is how it is. It is okay. The moment we try to figure out other ways to communicate it, you will actually try to get into the ways of probably you will end up getting telling lies also sometimes, right? So just be honest and say this is how it is. I think the
So
other person should
the
ask.
person is asking, Juhi is asking, by
Hmm.
giving honest reason if they resign and how do we retain? See, I think honestly, if a person wants to resign and move on because of the hike, it's okay. You should be able to respect it. It's okay. I mean, it did not work here, but that doesn't mean that professionally you guys are not connected. But at least the person will be happy that, you've given him or her that whatever reason it is. And
Do
if
we
it's a
I think I get that picture by giving honest reason. If they resign, if they resign, they if someone wants to resign, they would anyways resign, right? If they resign saying that hey, this is what I have got to know, which is unfortunate for me, it is okay to leave. Rather than this, hey, you know what, the organization has cheated me, they fabricated the information, I have got to know it later. They would figure it as a betrayal,
yeah.
right? It's okay to someone leave in the organization saying that hey, my expectation was 10, I just got 7. Then saying hey, my expectation was 7, I 10, but they have fabricated and somehow they've sugarcoated. I hate this organization.
We also have another question. How do you have those chats with the team managers who do not look at feedback mechanism, especially the 360-degree mechanism, very productively? I have experienced a situation where my team manager gave some comments and same feedback to all his reportees.
Very simple way. Sorry, Dipti, I'll pick this up.
Yeah, sure.
Very simple. If a manager is not honoring this, you have a wrong manager in the organization. Simple as that. You, as a human resource person in the organization, you have all the powers to go and give feedback. As a manager, this is the basic requirement that you need to do. If you can't do this, put that manager in PIP. It's okay, right?
Karthik, you're
Because
perfect.
yep,
Yeah.
there is no better way to correct a manager. If the manager is not honoring this process, that means he is critically harming the most important asset of the organization, human element. There's no better way. You just have to be brutally honest to that manager and say, hey, you know what? Uh, for qualifying to become a manager, this is a basic requirement. And don't shy away to tell this manager this could be even a CXO. It is fine because you're honest. You're taking care of most critical element. Yeah, Dipti.
I think like what Farhan was saying, it's very basic. It's okay to let go of people because they might have their own commitments and whatever it is. If they have performed and you're not able to give, this is what the situation is. I think gone are the days again. I'm saying where HR will be very nice, goody, sugar coating things. No, it's okay to be honest. The other person needs to be more matured enough to understand why we are saying that. right? If they are not, then sorry, he or she need not be in that place of being a manager.
Okay. Do you think HR partners should be involved in activities like salary appraisals and budgeting for respective service unit department, or should remain with no, no, HR department has to be a part of it, right? I would encourage HR business partner to be part of all the business reviews, right? If your revenue targets were 10 million, if we have earned only 7 million, you should also have the first hand information, right? How the hikes are decided, please go and negotiate this part of management, that hey, I need to be a part of it. If you feel that you have not been involved, ensure that you talk to the highest possible rank and give the correct reasons. I think every organization will respect that. Why do you want to need to have this information? The intent, if it is correct, the intent is to ensure that you have healthy conversation with employees, the intent is towards benefiting the organization, then yes, I think management should include you.
First of all, I think Anmol, HR is from the budgeting, at least in most matured organizations where I've been, from the days of budgeting to your MBRs and QBRs, they're always there. They know what the scenario is, and so are the BU heads. So now, when it comes to being a part or communicating during the hikes, I think by then, 3 or 4 quarters, they will know what has been happening. And they will, I think nowadays, most of the people involved the HR, whatever I have seen, maybe not everybody, but there will be few in the leadership team who kind of gets aligned and they are aware of what's happening.
Got it.
Okay, you cannot retain if you have decided. We can only try. Yes, Karthik, you're perfectly. It's okay. I mean, letting go is fine rather than having somebody and sulking all through and then becoming the bad apple. It's good. They go out, explore, and
Got it. I think, Pinkasha, I think it's a follow-up question on the previous one.
what do I do if I'm an employee? Do you report this to your HR? What?
Yeah, you can report, but I think this is basic, so you yourself also can give a feedback to your manager that hey, this is what I was expecting, and I think this is ideally what should be done. It see when you involve the other team member or the HRs, right? It may sound like an escalation. Do not go to that first as the first step. I think the first step should always be expressing what you felt to your manager, right? So, and then probably if it doesn't work, of course you should.
AV Agarwal, what if the management only favors that manager and nothing turns up in an improvement direction? Then God save the company. Yeah? I mean, we are in business. We are not here to save somebody. Of course, there will be bias. Not that there will not be bias, but I think someone will at least be approachable. If not that manager, somebody from the founding office or your manager's manager, maybe a director.
Hmm.
They, I think certain level of leadership and beyond are pretty open about it. Nobody is wanting to play this hide and seek game, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay.
correct.
Like what Farhan said, never make it like a escalation, but definitely you can go and talk.
Yeah, yeah. I think, Deepti, here it will differ from person to person, the definition of management, right? Some of us, we feel management is the CEO. Some of us, we feel the management is the HOD. Some of us feel our manager is the management, right? So you need to first figure out, it is okay to do the right question. If it needs be, you can question till the CEO that this is what I felt, and there's nothing wrong. I think everyone today are adult, right? Whoever is working above 18, they should have this much of understanding of whatever your question has an right intent, and I think they should answer. uh, this is also what is called organization culture. If you're working in an organization where favoritism is quite evident, then probably it's a dent in the culture of the organization for sure.
Okay, then we have Sandhya Bhaskaran. What would constitute a fair and effective practice for incrementing salaries within a startup?
See, in a startup, right? I think I'll take you back to in 2021, 2020, right? Post pandemic, and we suddenly saw a lot of inflow of finances, a lot of investments, and you would see a lot of salary hikes abnormally high. I myself have been a part of such increment, right, in one of my previous organization. What we have done wrong, and probably I'll come to that where the answer could be, even if there is a way we could just abnormally do things, we shouldn't. We should ensure that we do not create unhirables. So the most important part is in a salary increment, we need to stand and do a benchmark of where we are financially in the current status of our company. The second is what's the benchmark of the similar industry outside, right? What is our the average salaries for certain incumbent, and then you need to decide along with your management if the company is really progressively done well. Do you want to be at 100 percentile, 75 percentile, or 50 percentile of the market? If the market is paying for a certain role for 5 lakhs, do you want to be at 7.5, do you want to be at 6, or do you want to be at 8? Right, 8 could be the highest and 6 could be the lowest. Where do you want to be at in that particular role? That is something purely depends on your company performance, but that's the right metrics to decide. Then rather than you want to actually be fair with the employee because he really worked hard, he's earning 6 lakhs and you just double it 12 lakhs, you're doing unfair to him. Actually, you made him unhireable. God forbid if something goes wrong with the company, he or she is going to struggle to get a job.
Awesome. Now we go back to our discussion where we
Hmm.
were talking about why building a 360-degree feedback system is important, and setting clear objectives. So we'll start off with why building a 360-degree feedback system is important.
Three, see, why 360? I'll tell you, the existence of 360 came in the picture is, and it made it strong is you should be knowing about yourself from a different perspectives, right? My manager will give me feedback on his expectation of me being a subordinate and the way relationship has been maintained, but I will also get my feedback from my own colleague, peer group, and someone who's reporting to me with different perspectives, right? That will give you a overall development. So see, appraisal or performance management system do get witnessed by an hike, but this is the best opportunity for someone to get developed in person, in performance as well. So 360 means you are getting developed 360 wise, right? So 360 is the best way to growing yourself. So hence that's one of the best reason why 360 degree is important.
Yeah, I mean, getting to understand different views, different perspectives. Um, Probably we wouldn't have even viewed our decision making or our leadership style that way. So it is very important to understand. Before that, I would just like to take one step back and think, is my organization matured enough where I can run a 360? Right? I mean, because it could be a very young startup where you have people where they don't know how to give a 360. So only, do you want to just keep it to your CEO and his leadership, or do you want to trickle down and go and probably implement it to the um,
So Deepti, I think more than the maturity of the organization, even though I have also worked with some of the giants like Aditya Birla, Toyota Group, it is not how mature the organization, it is up to the manager how mature he or she has been in the process of giving feedback, right? So
Yeah.
I would rather say that it could be as young as 100 team member company, which is could be just 1 year, 1.5 year old as a system. Still, 360 can be applicable if groomed or directed well, right? So it doesn't define that 360 can be applicable only when an organization is 5 6 years old in the system. I would rather say it can be implemented from day one. It is our responsibility to ensure that how a manager or a team member or a peer or a subordinate gives this feedback. So if this is taken care, 360 can be implemented at any phase.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how even the manager welcomes it is also very important.
Sure, sure.
And even the person who participates needs to understand the scope and, the overall view of it. If he or she, how they kind of approach 360 also is very important.
Yep,
So
of
for
course.
us, setting a clear objective based on the SMART framework. SMART here is simple, measurable, accurate, and very timely.
Hmm.
If we can break down by individual and org, how do you think this should happen?
Sorry, come back again.
So setting up clear objectives like SMART, breaking down by individual and organization. Development beyond annual reviews. Reviews are over. Then
Hmm.
again, you set the SMART objectives. So, do you want to talk about how SMART needs to be utilized?
See, one, I think along with setting up goals, it is also important to focus on competency development, right? I think all the SMART goals, whatever has been done, I would rather slightly deviate here. See, all the goal setting is done one level below, right? Well, first, the goal setting of the organization, what the organization wants to achieve, right? These goals could be, hey, I want to be employer of choice this year, right? So from there, what are the internal and external goals that gets divided among the teams? I need to ensure that we have respect for everyone. This could be also one of the goal, right? So these could reflect on your OKRs, right? Which will also somewhere reflect on your skill set, right? So I would say that this purely depends on what the organization actually wants to pick it up. There are organizations who picks up just business goals, that hey, this year my goal is just to achieve 10 million through three say 300,000 sales, right? And how as an HR department, how as a finance department can contribute to those goals, then it becomes very different angle. Then a department will have its own departmental goals, and then a department will have its goal to the organization, where it will enable the organization to achieve those goals directly. Yeah,
Awesome. Um, okay. Creating a culture of fairness.
I
How
think
employee,
that
sorry,
one that we have answered. I think. Which one are you reading?
the third one, creating a culture of fairness, how employee benefits can bridge the gap for employers' contribution to an employee's development.
Okay.
Building trust and transparency, yeah, we have, discussed.
Sorry, I missed that. This is at what time? Was it? I'm trying to read the comment.
Sure. No,
Mm,
no,
okay,
this is
what?
in our document, Farhan.
Acha, acha. Sorry. Say that again. I was reading the comments probably.
Sure, sure. So we are talking here about creating a cultural fairness or culture of fairness,
Hmm.
being not biased, being fair to everyone. How employee benefits can bridge the gap for employers' contribution to an employee's development.
Got it. So I think there's this myth of culture. I'll give you an example. Most of the people would want to go to Google or Amazon or LinkedIn because They get great food, they give you great employee benefits, and probably great perks, right? I think this looks good when you go there, you hear, but the real culture is different. Real culture is with whom are you working. And there's a real say that, hey, people leave because of people, people also stay because of people. You would also find an organization where people would have spent 20-35 years and probably retired from that organization, right? So it is important on the, when you say fairness, I think there are 3-4 things which organizations tend to reflect, and it really impacts the culture, is how honest or how practical or how transparent you are with your employees, right? How frequently the organization has driven initiatives to be connected with employees, giving certain information about the business. I think that's where you will build the real culture, and the fairness will start kicking in. The other benefits, it will just flow in, it will just create some motivation to work, but this is your real motivation to come to work, where you go, where you're getting to know what is happening in the organization. There are no surprises. You know how our business is going on. You know uh, what kind of people are joining in. You know what is management feeling about all of us. I think that's the real fairness that we should look at, rather than the other benefits which are probably monetary or some other perks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the basic, I mean, let alone the hygiene factors like, are we, paying um, as per market or to the skill and other things. The most important thing is how aware as an employee you are about what's happening in the organization, be it the business metrics, be it the cultural awareness, as in, like, every organization will have a theme every at least 6 months. I wouldn't say annually, because now businesses are very fast. There will be certain themes, like, um, it could be, for example, let's consciously hire quality hires, even if that means that we are going to take a little more time to hire and fill that position. Are we able to do that? Or it could be that consciously let's meet the sales target, or in a tech company, consciously make sure that we adhere to all the process and make sure the bugs come down drastically. It could be a definite number. So guys, another very important thing, if there are people who've joined in 2-3 years into the HR system now, please concentrate on your town halls and your, if you're part of the QBR or MBR, try to concentrate and understand what the leadership is saying. Most of the times I see that in town halls everybody is there, they're in their own world. Don't do that, especially the juniors, right? So this will give you the pulse what has been happening.
True that.
Okay, so let's take some questions. Who is this? Pooja says sometime organizations follow a bell curve method for PMS, but this can go biased from the managers as well. How can we deal with this issue? Um, I think I would like to start with it. Farhan, I'm sure will be able to add to this. Pooja, I think primarily when you have an HR present, when the calibration is happening, even if you are following the bell curve, the business partner or the HR, whoever is there, they will have to have gone through the data multiple times before the calibration and made some comments for yourself and put forth those cases. Right, Farah?
Yeah, I think deeply rightly said. I'll take one step behind. Okay, I'll tell you why was the bell curve designed. The bell curve was designed to actually create a higher benchmark of organization's performance, right? What we have understood is, in our team there has to be somebody who's bottom 15% performer, right? And there has to be someone who's another 15% high performer, and rest 70 odd percentage needs to be medium performers. I think this is what we have assumed, and this is what we are currently doing wrong. See, our benchmark of performance has to be at that level where the bell curve looks similar, right? That we are acceptable to have this much percentage of low performers, to which probably we may do an exit, we may do a PIP. Our performance benchmark should be so high that only these many people should only be able to achieve it, and someone who is far exceed expectation should be this. So the curve is created in such a way that out of 100, and this is how analysis was done in certain organizations earlier. You would want to read that those articles. The deriving of bell curve was an outcome of many sample examples, right? Where they took up that out of 100, only these many percentages were excellent performance, these many were average, and these many were low, and that's how the evolve bell curve happened. But having said that, it requires a lot of education to the managers as well. Yes, it is true, there are bell curve victims, right? Where you would find managers pushing, and this is where your OKR actually plays in the picture. If there were proper documentation of performance reviews, there is no way there could be anyone who become victim. It is okay for an organization to come and say that, hey, you know what, unfortunately everyone looks a high performing. I'll give you an example. A team of three people, there's no way you can put one at low, one at high, and one at it is not going to be possible. You may end up having breaking a bell curve where all the three are actually performing, or all the three are not performing, or all the three are average, right? It is purely depending on how properly that documentation of performance has been done. And this is where managers are helpless. If he has performed, he has given said, hey, you have to ensure that let's for a recruiter, that you have to ensure that you reduce cost by 90%, 10% dependency on vendors, 90% you have to achieve. That what will a manager do? Because he's clearly achieved it. There's no way he can be victim, right? So it comes to how smartly that OKR is set.
Awesome. Let's take another question. Uh, how can we address salary band discrepancy between long serving employees and new hires?
I think you should blame the talent team a bit on this, right? And probably a bit of hiring managers as well. See, this is a problem that has been created while hiring, right? And that's where you see the salary discrepancies being different. I think it is fair enough to create every see most of the growing organizations have done this every 3 years. They do a benchmark along with the industry, where they figure out where they are currently and where they should be. While doing this exercise, people who are at low salaries are actually getting corrections, right? I know for sure a couple of years back, Freshwork actually did a massive exercise, right? I was connecting to somebody at a leader level who said we've done this, and then the newbies were at example 30, the old ones were at 20, so there's a gap of 10. We ensured if they come to a respectable gap, right? So this needs to get corrected. This is done.
I would also, add 2 cents here that Anupama, definitely there will be a scope of the delta will always be there. But you, as a HR and your business leader, how are you trying to correct that and kind of making it like what Farhan was saying, a respectable gap is very important. You do a correction or not in your appraisal itself, you can keep educating your leader saying that, hey, you know what, this person is at low, we should. So simple as this. When you get your annual file, we would say have your outliers, highlight the outliers, try to bring in that education to the business leaders, to the leadership team, to your CEO level, that hey, these are the gaps that I think we need to look at. That's very important.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing Anupama says, should we rehire a terminated? Sorry, it just yeah. Should we rehire a terminated employee who forged salary documents if they agree to return on the original salary negotiation? No, there
Yeah.
is ethics question. You cannot do that. Come what may.
I'll tell you why you shouldn't be doing it, and probably the question comes that hey, he has given original data, but what will happen is once he is there in the system, unfortunately, it's a rotten apple. You don't know when he's going to do similar thing across his work life, right? And it will also push someone else to do similar stuff, right? So you should not take a cultural risk at all.
Once he has done that and you have terminated, that is it. I think in every system there is, where you can say okay to rehire. Just put in as no is a no. It could be your previous HR or you. Please respect that these are certain things you should not go beyond and even think of these things. If it's a no, it's a no. That's it. AV Agarwal says, other than town halls, what else can be a mode of connecting at a org level? Avni, yeah,
So, Avni, I would say mode of connecting it purely depends on what kind of communication we are looking at, right? If it is a mode of communication, it need not be official and official all the time. Organization will become very boring, right? You can make it through different kind of org level. You can do a annual sports day, you can do many functions, engagement activity where people are coming together. Communication will, we are human beings, we will talk to each other. Town hall probably is, it's a very old concept, by the way. Town hall is not just for org, it is for small towns, right, where they gather together to exchange notes. So town hall looks very serious. I would say serious every time you can't have serious communications, so I would say just restrict one serious communication and probably engage with many other informal communications.
absolutely. Avni, and if you want to connect, if it is for just a one-on-one, or if there are a couple of people who've been gathered, you can just go say hi, talk to them over a conversation, over even a water. When you're picking up your water, you can talk to people. We had a very interesting thing in my last to last organization, previous one. They had every Thursdays cheesecake party. They would order, the engineering folks would order, and they never used to say that it's only for us. So anybody could go, and I, being the HRBP, I would always go there. So that way I would connect. Many people were there, not necessarily in the town hall. You just want to talk to them, connect, understand the pulse. You can just do it. And trust me, Amni, when you do a informal, it's much more better.
True that.
Oh, okay. And then we have, I don't know why it's jumping. As a part of HR, how to disclose our own expectations to the management, knowing the business conditions and situations when you are ethically connected to the company. Should we settle for less? How far it will go, and how to deal with it?
Hmm. It's a question where we are running the shop and we so much want to eat our own chips. Right? Okay, great. Juhi, there is no, there's nothing wrong with it. You should feel, we all feel, we work for a cause, we have monetary dependency. It should okay. It is okay to go and share that. Hey, you know what? I'm actually feeling of this is what should be right for me. This is what my expectation. But you being part of the deciding committee, right, you should also look at there and create a fairness to the entire system and say that hey, this was my expectation, but I understand where it is now. And then in the middle, if there is scope, then definitely you should take what is yours. Ensure that if you are happy, you will keep others happy, right? So if you can negotiate to a middle ground, do that. Or if you know the reality that you know it is not going to be possible, then settle down.
And Juhi, I also think that even your management should know if you've been underpaid. It's very important to understand. Everybody is a human being, yeah. All of us have our own, needs. Are you underpaid? Then they should themselves come forth to say that, yeah, we will do the correction. If the organization is not doing well, yeah, then like what Farhan was saying, you take a settle down, or it's up to you what you want to decide. What is more important? At what juncture of professional and personal level you are in? How much you're okay to let go and how much you're not okay. It's okay. We don't need to feel guilty for it. Ethically, yeah. As long as you are correct by your data and all those things, I don't think so. It should be a problem. Payal says, how do you deal with situations where you are an individual contributor and receive a smaller raise despite the business performing well?
I think, Pile, this is purely depending on ratings, right? So, be it an IC, be it a manager, whatever the organization is decided that for certain ratings, this is the outcome of your increment, right? The outcome will be your increment. We'll settle down with this. So, even if the business is doing well, if the person is getting a low rating, he wouldn't get any hike or probably less. If the rating is good and business is good, there is rating based hike, right? See, this is again coming back to the process. If your organization doesn't have a great process and not backed by rating and mechanism, or there is no mechanism to this, or no science to giving a hike, then not just one, there will be many who will be feeling this, right? So if there is a proper science and mechanism for every rating backed by a hike, then even if you're an individual contributor, you would still get the same.
That's why your process needs to be strong,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Mm.
Anmol says, what are your views on supporting teams like HR, finance, IT, etc., being underpaid functions compared to the revenue generating teams functions? Because HR and finance teams put the same kind of effort and contribute towards organization goals.
So, see, each function, unfortunate. Yeah, it is. I would say it's slightly unfortunate. I kind of agree to this statement. Uh, See, the revenue generating function is backed by something called incentives, which we don't have. Sometimes we do get performance pay or performance bonus. Uh, but your comparison is to an extent wrong. I would say if you're in finance for a certain company, then you should look at how is the finance function getting paid in the other company with similar industry, right? Try to do a benchmark on that. If you see all the finance folks with CA qualification, 3 years of experience, getting this much to this much, is it similar to your organization? That should be a right benchmark. But yes, it will not be similar. Example, the IT support function or IT services function versus a finance function versus a HR function actually gets a different pay, right? Even within the support function also, the pay structure is slightly different. Unlike, there could be some organizations who purely goes by band. Example, I know for sure that Amazon goes by band. It is irrespective which function you are. If your band stays at this, it will go from here to here. This would be your range. So purely depends on how the organization structuring has been done. But yeah, the fact is true. Support functions, unfortunately, and I'm looking forward that there would be organizations. Yeah, there are a few organizations who doesn't want to do this, but in future, maybe we would get to a better level of organization where everyone gets equally paid. And then heads off, I think there's no discomfort or disconnect or discounted, I would say, performance.
So I would like to add in here, Farhan, every sub department or department brings in the same amount of credibility, because if HR or finance doesn't work, how do you think revenue generation will be able to kind of sustain? For example, if the incentives are not calculated well, do you think they will get it? So that is where the leadership, that is your CEO and probably his team, needs to understand that they need to be respected. However, in Indian scenario, we are slowly coming there. It's a painful journey, but I see in West, uh, the bias is very less. if you see in global organizations, um, those kind of biases are less to an extent compared to what our Indian counterparts are. This is a very good question, Anmol. Anmol again says, do you think HR partners should be involved in activities like salary appraisals and budgeting for that
This question
respective service?
we
We
picked
did
up.
this, right?
Yeah, we picked.
Sure, because this had come in the other chat as well.
Okay.
And then Vikas Jain says, isn't OKRs more for improving company performance rather than assessing individual performance?
No, I think OKRs does reflect on individual, not just company, right? A company's performance is purely based on you. If example, if you are underperforming, and example, everyone is underperforming, the entire company is underperforming, right? So OKRs are going to link to human capital of this organization, and I think OKRs are designed for you to achieve certain heights or certain goals in your own function or in your own capabilities, right? So I think it is not just organization, it is for an individual level for sure.
I think it's just that your organization level to the individual level, everything gets aligned beautifully in
Yep.
OK. Because your KRs, that's your key results, can be trickled down to each individual's number or individual's whatever you want to quantify or qualify. You can do that. That's why I'm saying measure what matters. You should read that. As all HR professionals, we need to read this book, which will really help us. So Avni comes back saying that obviously the fun and informal gatherings are there, but in terms of formal announcements, there are many, right? I mean, not necessarily your town halls. You will keep having announcement on your Slacks, the wins, the highs and lows, what has been happening. Uh, I mean, what else would
I think
you?
Avni, if there are announcements means it's a situation. If the situation asks you to gather everyone, then please go ahead and gather. But announcements need not have a specific forum, right? One town hall forum for a month is enough for organization to go through certain formal communication, right? I'm just thinking how much of content will a organization also have to give such serious announcement. But yes, if it requires you to call everyone again that hey, we have an announcement, but then it will also dilute the seriousness, because how big is this content? Is it for 5 minutes? Is it for 1 minute? Is it for 2 minutes? And this is why you will see many of these organizations we have emailers saying announcements, right? So you would see a lot of emails sent, because that could be just communicated over an email as well. But yeah, situational cases where you need to announce certain very important and requires interaction, you need not wait for a forum. Just probably we should go and call an announcement, everyone.
Prince is asking if he can get a recording. Generally, Prince, we do put it on our website. All the PAS expertise sessions are there. You can go ahead and look for it. Not immediately, it'll take little time, probably a week if I'm not wrong. By then, it'll be up and running on the website, Prince. Awesome. I think this has been a very insightful conversation, Farhan. It's been beautiful to have you right here and a couple of days before. I have learned a lot of things from you. Thank you so much for being with us. And the audience, thank you very much for asking candid questions. It's been a great learning session. Hoping to meet Farhan again, for an exciting subject. Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you, Pasker. And thank you, Farhan. Thanks, audience, for being there. Um, all of you have a great day ahead and a great week.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you, Dipti. Thank you, Pascal team. Thank you, Dhruv, for organizing this. I love the audience because it's so much engaging. I think people have very interesting questions. And I hope I was able to meet to certain expectation that you had. Please pardon me in case I have not been able to, but do connect with me on LinkedIn in case you want to have further discussions. I'll be free to pick this over. Right. Thank you, Dipti, once again, and looking forward to have such sessions again.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Farhan. Bye bye. Have a
Okay,
nice
take
day.
care. Take care, everyone. Bye.